Hello everybody, Zaxter99 here once again. Guys, I have been reviewing indie games here on my YouTube channel for many years, since 2012 in fact. And during that time, I've reviewed on my channel well over 600 games. That's not including all the games that I've played and just left written reviews on Steam for, or played and not left a review for, etc. I've been a passionate gamer all my life. In fact, I also develop my own games. So when I play a game, even a game that is graphically superior to my own 2D games, I have a good idea of, how much effort is put into a game by the developer. Now, sometimes I negatively review a game and later go back and see that, hey, the game actually has quality parts or quality to it that maybe I missed. Or maybe, I just didn't see something. However, we're all entitled to make mistakes. And with Invasion 2037, I have indeed made a mistake. I'll be back in just a moment to go ahead and play Invasion 2037 and reevaluate this game. Take a closer look at it and see what the truth is behind the developer and behind the game. I'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back everybody to my actual third look at Invasion 2037. A game that is interesting to me now because the early adopters, the early purchasers of this game on Steam seem to have such hate at anybody that doesn't think this game is the next greatest, DayZ, the next greatest zombie apocalypse game. How dare somebody find fault with an indie game like this? Seem to be getting so angry, holding up their weapons and screaming and hollering and downvoting my videos and downvoting my, or commenting on my Steam review, which isn't a good review of Invasion 2037. Why, you ask? Because I've seen this, I've done this before. In fact, I've been here with games just like this dozens of times over the past few years. Games where a developer takes assets from the Unity store or assets from Unreal, plops them down on a map, uses default animations, within the game, and tries to say, hey, this is a great game. This is a game that you should buy. Let's put it out in early access. No actual content except placing down assets that are purchased off the marketplace and trying to let the assets themselves create the game for you. Take a closer look at why I feel so strong that this game is nothing but a big time, low effort money grab by the developer or developers of Invasion 2037. So as we see my character here, a nice asset purchased off the Unreal Marketplace, $29.99 in US currency to be exact. And if you want to check out my video called Invasion 2037 is nothing but an ARM TPOS, what the fuck is that? You can check out that 12-minute video. It was posted on November 4th, a day before this game launched. I'll have the link in the description. So this is a character I've created last time I played the game and made my obviously flawed judgment that there was hope for this game to somehow, some way become a decent game. Since I put up that video, I've had this nagging feeling that, Zach, you're completely wrong. This game is nothing but a low effort asset flip for developers out there spending money that he's, acquired from his last game, Creatures Incorporated, to buy a bunch of pretty assets and use a lot of the same assets he used in Creatures Incorporated, let's be honest, to assemble this game that is really nothing more than a bunch of assets placed on an Unreal plane, and there's zero content that he's created himself. Really, there's really not a whole lot here except purchased assets. So when we go into the game here, guys, and we go to start, one thing I suggested to the developer in the last video that I put up was to get rid of all this text. It's absolutely hideous. And I've seen this kind of thing before in other low effort indie games. Developers so lazy that they think just posting up a bunch of text all over these assets they purchase is a great way to give information about their game. A lot of times it's common sense information, or it's simply information that is given to us because the developer doesn't have the know-how, or is too lazy to change the actual asset to show what he wants. So for example, this right here, he could simply change this asset that he purchased to show generator right on it, like make it a generator brand. He could show the word fuel above the gauge there. But instead, he just posts the text all over this, a big paragraph that's absolutely hideous. This here is lazy, sloppy development. And it shows it's a developer that just doesn't care. Got a gas mask on, so we'll go ahead and go outside now, guys. And I want to show you guys some of the reasons why I hate this game and why I know this game is a very low effort asset mashed together. So everything you see here, from the house to the smashed car to the items inside the barn, are all just assets available on the Unreal Marketplace that he's placed inside the world. Now, he calls this a lot of work. The developer says that he spent a year making this game, like he's been hard at work. Guys, he's had fun. He's bought all these assets, probably with profits made off his first Steam game, Creatures Incorporated, because that game has sold a lot of copies, and it's pretty much the same thing as this, just a big mash together of Unreal Marketplace assets with no real content. That's why you have his enemies in that game moving in a straight line toward your XY position, because that's exactly what they're programmed to do. It's built-in default animations to home in on the player, included in the asset. He's really done no work himself with either of these games, but he's had a lot of fun purchasing these assets and then placing them all over this map. Just like people play The Sims or a city building simulator or whatnot, where they place down houses and roads and trees, and they build a city or whatever. The developer's pretty much done that as well. He's bought these assets, and now he's had fun placing all these objects that he's bought all over his world. That's what he calls work. I also find it hard to believe that the developer, who says that he's been working on this game for the past year, has actually been doing that. In fact, about 7 or 8 months ago, he launched Creatures Incorporated, another asset-reliant game just like this, that's still in early access, by the way. And that game launched back then, and he's been working on that game. So how did he have much time to work on this game when he just launched Creatures Incorporated 8 months ago? No, the only work the developer's done in this game is placing, these assets all over. He's made a few heals, which is really easy to do inside the Unreal Engine, and then he's placed everything, on his map, all these assets and all these asset barns. And I mean, look at this horse right here. It's just a dead horse asset that he's purchased and placed down. Now, the one credit, like I say, I would give to the developer is he has kind of kept the cohesion between buying, broken down looking barns and broken down looking cars, and everything does look like it fits together and gels. But there's what I'm talking about is there's no story, there's no purpose for anything in the game. When a good game, if this was a good indie game, when I come up to this house, you might have dialogue or a voice that says, has this guy saying, "Oh, this horse is dead. I wonder what he died from." And maybe it would have a little animation or something, saying how the horse died, or how aliens killed it, or maybe the horse died of starvation because the owners of the horse couldn't feed it. Whatever it was. But instead, there's no story, there's no nothing here. The player of the game is left to use his imagination and create their their own story because the developer's too lazy and incompetent to give us any kind of story, reason, or purpose for doing anything that we do in this game. So instead, we walk around and we look for these items, and they're all at the same spawn points. So the spawn points have been created in this asset house, and he simply used a randomizer to randomize what kind of loot you get, when. But everything else is just placed assets within the world and within these houses. Um, Guys, anybody that's been around Steam and seen these games very much is going to. We found a map. Oh boy! Now that is not randomized. That was meant to be there on purpose. But like this battery, for example, is just a randomized item in that particular location. So one complaint people are having, guys, is the movement of the character model. Your character model. People complain about the movement. And for one thing, this house is so small. This asset house is so small. I mean, because he's just using it as it is. He's not bothering to change the size of the character models and say, hey, this character model might be a little bit too big for this asset house. But another thing, guys, is that the developer not only is just using everything as is without doing any real work himself to make sure everything fits together, cohesively. One thing the developer is doing here is just leaving all the animations, the default animations as they come with this particular marketplace asset character that you play as. It's why there's no female. A lot of people are asking for a female model. Well, the developer didn't buy a female asset model, and he probably doesn't want to go to the work to put that into the game because that is more effort, after all. It's also why the developer hasn't changed this default movement. So what I'm talking about here, guys, and why so many people are complaining that your movement is awkward with this character is because if you're hitting W and you hit S, notice how your character instead takes a 90-degree turn either left or right, and then another 90-degree turn to move back. So most games like this, you would expect that if I was holding W and I hit S, I would just turn around right there and look back without moving left or right, because after all, I was hitting the up key and then the down key. But instead, the default animations for this character asset this developer purchased is to actually make a 90-degree turn. So what you'll see here, guys, is that this is how this model turns around. Now I'm just hitting W and S, but you see, this is why people say the character model has awkward animations that need to be fixed. The reason this hasn't been fixed yet is because my guess is the developer has no fucking clue on how to code or change the simple code within inside this asset he's purchased to fix the movement to something that's going to be a lot better, something that's going to suit his game better. But guys, if we go ahead and take a look at the forum page, on the forum under Invasion 2037 by this guy, where he's complaining about the awkward movement. Is there any kind of fixed plan for this? The developer acts dumb and says, "What do you mean by clunky? The character turns easily." And well, no, because he's trying to blow off this complaint. It's a valid complaint. It is awkward, especially when you're in these small houses. But the developer is just trying to blow him off here because he doesn't want to fix it. He doesn't know how to fix it. However, down here in the video I've since deleted because A, the video is too long, and B, in this video here that I deleted, I gave hope to the developer that maybe he could make this a decent game. After sitting on it for a few days since I made that video, I no longer have any hope whatsoever that this game will ever be any good. So that's why I'm making this video right here. But anyway, I showed people exactly what I'm talking about, exactly what I just showed you, how you, instead of when you hit W, instead of just turning around when you hit S, your character makes this 90-degree turn each way. And that's why it's awkward. And I basically said, come here to this video and you'll see what I'm talking about, what I just showed you guys. And this guy here says, thanks for the video. You explained exactly what I couldn't put into words. So he's like, yep, that's it, And then the developer comes in right after that and says, hello, we can modify that easily. Well, if you can modify that easily, How come it's been still two and a half days since you've said that, and we still see this same default character animation? If that was such an easy fix, why don't you stop all the complaining on your forums and go ahead and patch that with that easy fix? We could fix that easily. Well, the reason he hasn't fixed it easily is because he doesn't know how, plain and simple. If it does get fixed, it's probably going to be because this developer is hounding the actual creator of this asset he purchased to fix it for him. Or he's getting somebody to fix it for him. I'm going to say right now that I don't think this developer knows how to fix or code this character model to fix, to make him, actually turn around without doing the 90-degree turns. To make him turn around on the spot. The developer doesn't know how to do that. That's why he's purchasing all these assets. It's why he's relying on all these default animations of the zombies, of the character, of everything. It's why you see that everything is just simple text, pasted all over the walls and all over the assets he's purchased. He doesn't know how to code fading windows. He doesn't know or care to make a game complete. There's also nothing here, guys, in this world except assets. Zombie assets placed all over the map, and then all these assets that he's purchased of barns and houses and cars and loot. That's it. That's all it is. It's purchased assets from the Unreal Marketplace. There's no story here. There's no reason for what you're doing. If you go to your journal, it simply has really simple, fetch quest or fetch this or go here, go to Henry's house to see more assets, pick up more assets, loot more assets, go to your lab, which again is an asset of the bomb shelter. There's nothing here. There's no story. There's no plot. There's no reason for being here. It's just a big, empty map full of Unreal Marketplace assets. This game is garbage. It's extremely low effort. And my belief, based on all these kind of games that I've played over the years, is that this game will be abandoned, will never come out of early access, and the developer will take all his money that he's making from all you fanboys and laugh all the way to the bank. He cares nothing about actually completing this game or giving, gamers a good game for their money. All he's doing is giving gamers a bunch of replicated and duplicated assets all over an empty map. That's my review of Invasion 2037, guys. I've been doing this a long time. A lot of you guys might disagree with me, but I am entitled to my opinion, and it's based on a lot of experience doing just this, evaluating these low effort asset mashed togethers. Now, in my first video that I made before this game launched, I actually had a long name for this. I called it an asset-reliant mashed together piece of shit or something like that. It's really long. It's like 7 abbreviations. We're going to go ahead and reduce that now because this is not an asset flip. The developer has not just bought this whole world and this whole game as an asset kit and changed the name of it and flipped it over as is. No, he has actually done the work or had the fun, as I would say, of placing all these assets all over the map in, the manner that he wanted to do. He's created an environment here using his assets that he's purchased. And he's done a little bit of coding as far as making the crafted items that you need to craft. But that's really simple code within the Unreal Engine, especially when all you're using is assets for the things you craft and the things that you craft those assets. And I'm going to go ahead and use the same letters in the abbreviations we use for ASMR. Now with ASMR, a lot of people look for ASMR videos and content to help them relax or to help them fall asleep. It's when people either talk really low or a nice voice to help them fall asleep, or maybe they make nice sound effects, or listening to rain could be ASMR, for example. We all know what ASMR is. We're going to use those same letters to describe all these asset-reliant games. So we're simply going to take the ASMR and we're going to take the R at the end and we're going to use that just like an asset. We're going to take it from the end and we're going to move it in front of the S. We're going to move the S and the M over to the end, and now we have an ARSM. ARSM stands for Asset Reliant Sloppy Mess. Exactly what you have here. It's way too asset reliant. And as far as the animations, how things work, how your your combat with the zombies, everything in the game is an asset reliant sloppy mess. This game doesn't have any real content. It doesn't have any real purpose for playing it. It's just a bunch of assets, guys. And hopefully, you guys, next time you come across a game on Steam that is using nothing but assets to try to be the entirety of the game or the majority of the game with no real purpose or point or plot or direction made by the developer himself, it's just a bunch of plopped in assets, that you'll know that Zaxter99 created the terminology ARSM, Asset Reliant Floppy Mess. And that's what we have here with Invasion 2037, guys. If I have to score this game right now, because it is so heavily reliant on assets, I mean, the assets look good, don't get me wrong, but a game is not just graphics, guys. Graphics, this is the exact reason why I say graphics don't make the game. It's why graphics only count for 10% of an overall score on the game. How much fun is it to run around in an asset world and use the same default animations over and over again in your combat and fight the same, 4 zombie models the characters purchased who all make the same attacks and have the same path for you. It just gets old really quick, and I can't believe that anybody's having any kind of fun with this game. So yeah, I mean, the creepiest thing about this game is the sound effects in the background. Again, something else purchased by the developer, and the fog making the hills look creepy. So the developer has done a good job with that. But other than that, the game just, it really has no content itself that the developer has created. Again, an ARSM is what this game is. Value, guys, at $15 for an ARSM, where the developer really hasn't done any real work. There's no real purpose to play in. There's no real story. There's really nothing here except assets. Out of 40 points, guys, I'm going to go ahead and be generous and give this developer 5 out of 4. Next criteria is how much fun is the game. Well, this game is fun for a short period, but trust me, as soon as you realize that all you're doing is the same default attacks and seeing these same default animations over and over and over again, and seeing the same asset cars and same asset houses over and over and over again, pretty soon you're going to get tired of crafting the same cloth bandages and the same bullshit over and over and over again, and fighting the same 4 zombie models over and over and over again. It's going to get very, very old very, very quickly, and fun isn't going to last long in this game, guys. Maybe a few hours, if that, and then the fun's going to dwindle down, and you're going to be wondering to yourself, why the hell did I buy this? Fun, out of 30 points, I'm going to be generous again and give it a 10 out of 30. And that's just because you will have a little bit of fun early on. The first time you fight the zombies, or the first few times you fight the zombies, first time you drive in a car that you can actually drive, driving down the road, you'll notice the mechanics of the car are very bad. You'll feel like you're driving on ice, even though you're driving on a dry paved road. Again, that's because of the default animations within the car's mechanics. The developer either doesn't know how or doesn't care to actually change the mechanics so driving a car feels good. Again, he's just using the default, simple mechanics within the asset that he purchased. Bugs and controls is my next criteria, guys. The controls are, the controls work, but there's so many bugs in the game, that it's, at this point, I know it's early access, but there's really nothing here to write home about, guys. The controls work, but that's simply because the assets that he's purchased are good assets and they work. But as far as like the controls, tell me how good the controls are when you drive a car in this game. I think you'll see what I mean. Controls and bugs, guys, 10 out of 20 as well. And then the graphics and sound, this is what I'm talking about. This is why graphics and sound count so little, because you have a very, very shallow game here with pretty assets and pretty graphics. But unfortunately, graphics and sound only count 10% of my game. And I'll go ahead and be nice and give this game a 10 out of 10, even though I know all these assets and the beauty and the graphics that you see are all just created by the makers of the assets. I'm gonna go ahead and give the developer 10 out of 10 for that, but if you add that all up, guys, 5 for value. I said 10 out of 30 for fun is 15. I said 10 out of 20 for controls and bugs is 25. And then 10 out of 10 for graphics and sound, even if we give them that, we got a 35%. So 35%, guys, because of the laziness of this developer, because he has 2 early access games on Steam, and it doesn't seem like he cares about finishing the first early access game, Creatures Incorporated, and this one's also likely going to stay in early access forever while he introduces more early access projects in the next 6 months, 6 to 8 months, and claims that he's been working on that game for 2 years. When he has these 2 early access asset-reliant pieces of crap already on Steam, are we really going to believe that he's been working on the next project he introduces to Steam for 2 years? Come on, guys, use your head. 35%, guys, and this game makes my maggot-infested stinky shit number 71. Man, these things are piling up fast on Steam, and I'm not even reviewing it, not even a small fraction of all these crappy ass games. But these things, man, I guarantee you I've already done a ton of these. Not asset flip games, but asset reliant sloppy M.I.S.S, ARSM, just like this game here. Maggot infested stinky shit number 71. Be sure you guys let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Be sure you rate my video. Thanks so much for watching and taking the time to watch my video. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.